Right, 1866, good luck. So we've not played before, we have no head-to-head score there. Yeah, that's the rapid one. Oh, only 50 games for my opponent, so is this a new account? 401 in Blitz and 700 in Bullets, so it's not a brand new account. Oh, 3 years actually, not a lot of games considering how long the account's been there. Let's just play e6, just guard our pawn, maybe c6. Bishop up first. Slow and steady does it. But we're probably going to go c6 here, just to make sure the pawn's covered. Castle, pawn up, logical moves. So castle. Okay, bishop comes up, so I will get my pawn out of the fire of that bishop and attack this in the process. I expect the bishop will drop back, but let's just see. It does. So what do we want to do? I'm looking at these ideas, which are fairly standard. We can take... We could maybe go c5. Gives a bit of a pawn sack, doesn't it? Let's play knight up first, preparing possibly c5. We could play rook back. Oh, well now he's gone there. That's a little bit more awkward. What do we want to do? I'm actually going to play queen up, but it's... The bishop's a bit loose, isn't it? I want to play c5, I think. Take a chance. I want to play c5. I don't normally play this line, so again, I might be going wrong. At this rating level, obviously 1800s are going to beat me in a certain portion of games, so that's even when I'm playing well, never mind when I'm playing not very well. So let's take there and take here. And then try and get this bishop into the game somehow, somewhere. Goes with the knight, okay. And now I take here as well. I don't want it to be completely symmetrical. It's going to be more difficult to create any chances there. Now I could go here and hit the bishop, and if you go back I can trade it. And if you don't, I can come around and chase this bishop away. So I like knight to e5 for that. Queen's adequately guarded, bishop's guarded. Knight down could be a bit of a nuisance. But here, knight down, I can just trade queen to grab the bishop. But here, I'm assuming the bishop's going to come back and the queen's going to line up something like this. Not easy, is it? Not easy. I'm just going to play a pawn up and try and get my bishop into the game, and I'm probably going to do this. Actually, let's hit the bishop while we've got tempo, but I think I'm going to drop a knight back to f8. Oh, the bishop's gone back to e2. I didn't expect that. I did not expect that idea. I guess we develop anyway. Bishop here, I'll gladly trade and then say maybe just develop. So I want to do something like this and chase that other bishop away now. But you've got to watch out, obviously the rook's centralising, the queen comes under attack. But we're just going to try and chase this bishop away. Queen goes back, so hit the bishop. I think the bishop will drop back. But now we've got bishop d6. Trade, pawn down, no good. Let's just come here. Now, does my opponent want me to take there is a question. You know, just to open the file up and take a real risk, you could even play rook takes knight and sack to try and open things up. Okay, it doesn't. But now I expect we'll get one of the rooks or both rooks to centralize somewhere. And then how do we deal with it? Where do we want to go? Is queen b6 logical here? I think so. Gets us out of the way. I don't see any other squares worth going to. And we'll try and do the same sort of concept. Then it's just a case of how these pawns eventually fly down the board sooner or later, I expect. We want to get our pieces into the game. This is okay right now, but it's a target. Ooh. Does that give us an opportunity to simply push the pawn and try and break this structure up? And why not? What's wrong with that? Here, the knight can go to a4 to attack the queen. We could just step forward or step forward here, right? Rook across. Knight's under attack. I'm just going to push the pawn. Ooh, apologies. I feel a bit croaky again here. I feel fine, but it's hay fever and allergy season for me right now. Something I get very bad with every summer and every spring. So it's right at that time of year. Now I assume I want my queen back over here. We could go forward, I guess, but it feels more natural to drop back. And then with a view to rook across, or pawn up. Yeah, I'm going to come back. Does it matter which one? I want to come all the way back. My knight covers this square, so there's no immediate attack. What do we do now? Difficult to push the pawn, isn't it? Difficult to push. Let's bring the rook across and just attack the pawn. I can always come back. It's a little bit odd having the two rooks stacked over on the side like this. A little bit awkward. Not going to be easy to create anything here, actually, is it? I'm going to bring this knight back now. Maybe jump into the middle. Okay, my knight covers the rook coming to d7, but we can potentially jump forward and trade this knight. Knight's come over. Okay, I'm going to jump forward and hit that knight. Then just drop back to f6 if I need to. Yeah, going to be difficult to create any chances at all here. Okay, or we can take the knight then. Is there anything else? Knight across, I don't see it. I'm going to take a maybe queen across to hit the knight and pawn. Maybe the knight just simply drops back, but can we just start running now before white does then? Here, I guess you simply drop back. I'm going to just simply push my pawn before white blasts down the board. Just see how far we can get the pawn before the knight pounces on it. If the rook wanders off, we might have a check and collect if the rook leaves that file. The knight's going to cross, offering a trade. Now that feels like it should be good for us. That feels like a good trade. And again, just push the pawn. Let's just march the pawn forward if we can. Rook across would allow a check. Got to be careful not blundering checkmate again. I've stacked everything on the wrong side, haven't I? This could be a little bit of a problem, or a big bit of a problem. You know, not paying attention. Not paying attention here. What am I doing? Hold on, do I come back? I'm wondering whether to go here so the rook can come back, or just drop immediately back. I'm going to go forward and maybe a rook back. Yeah, I am a bit croaky here, aren't I? So a quick logical mate attack, so I think we have to play a rook back. If we go there, it's mate in two, so we have to come back, I think. One of them games I could be getting blown off the board, but we have got a pawn here. We're threatening this pawn. But you can imagine if these rooks get stacked here, I've got a bit of a problem. Maybe we're in time to take and drop back. That's exactly what he's looking for. It's exactly what he's aiming for, isn't it? So here, rook down, here. I assume rook takes, check. I suspect we're losing that. Now I've got rook across. Or I can grab the pawn and try and come back. That seems alright to me. I'm going to grab the pawn and try and come back. Now I can check first. Does it matter if I do or not? Check and then back. I think it might. I'm going to check and then come back. Obviously he can play a rook across and get to a7, but I can still just ignore it and push my pawn. So if the queen trades, I'd be very pleased. Then my king's pretty solid then, so I don't think he can afford to trade the queen. If he leaves this diagonal, we can throw a check in potentially, but we're just threatening to simply push a pawn. That's the simple threat, and he's traded it. But if he goes here now, I can ignore it and just push my pawn. And if he takes my rook, I just simply take. So I think we're winning now. Yes, indeed we are. So again, dangerous game in it. You can see why these games are dangerous. I got to hold 2 points for that. And you can see how I can very easily lose these games. So let's just put it through the engine and see how it says we actually played it. What did we have? 37 moves. Oh, it was actually level at the end, so we've gone wrong. So that's actually level and my opponent's resigned in a level position. So it's just level, and we've blundered here with 3.8 better. So it's basically essentially been flatline right until here. So what were the actual figures? 88% for me, my opponent 90%, so actually accurate, 24 centre pawn each. So e4 was a mistake, and these are all basically okay. So rook e7 is a blunder, and then we've blundered ourselves with the queen check, which we didn't need to do. Now, I only did that to deliberately drive the king, and it's saying I shouldn't have done that. I should have just completely ignored it and played the a3 idea and tried to go off the extra queen and say, you're not checkmating me. So that's my blunder, was the fact that I could have had an extra queen. Then in the final position, it's saying obviously my queen's guarding here, so there's no actual mate threat. Presumably I can allow rook takes, queen checks, step across. I'm guarding the threat, and I can just get another queen. But in the final position, you can see it's completely level, and my opponent's just resigned because you don't see a move. It's difficult to stop the pawn, isn't it? So the engine says just take on f7. Simply take. Take the pawn f7. In fact, you've also got rook to c7 and rook to b7, and it's still completely level. So if you take, I have to move a rook away somewhere, or I could take here, but then I lose my pawn as well. And if I move, presumably you can just keep checking forever. So it's actually a drawn position then, so I'm just very, very lucky to get a win with that one.